So I hope the first video that I made is at least somewhat helpful to you regarding modulations. I thought it might be a good idea to talk a little bit about the homework as well, since we haven't had a lot of time to talk about it already in class. So the edition that I'm using for my screen capture here is actually an earlier edition, but it's probably exactly the same. If it's not the same, it'll still help you quite a bit regarding how to understand the modulations and exactly what they're asking for. One of the things that I found when grading the homework is very often we skip the directions, the instructions. And so we need to make sure we read them, because sometimes you are doing work that you don't need to do and not doing work that you do need to do. So, a couple things. If you look right here, these are the actual recordings for the workbook. So all you have to do is type in Casca Pain tonal harmony on Google, and this should come up. So it gives you all the recordings for the homework. I would really encourage you to listen to it, because as I like to say, when your eyes fail you, your ears will save you, and vice versa. So you need to be listening to these examples as much as possible. All right, so let's look at this first analysis, example 18.2. So it says this excerpt modulates from B flat to F. Label the chords, being sure to show two Roman numerals for the common chord. The blanks beneath the music show where the bass changes, but not where the common chord occurs. Non-chord tones in measures 1 and 8 only have been identified for you. Okay? So let's just start by listening to this.
18.2 A1.
All right, so we are firmly in the key of B flat major. I think everybody will agree with me here. The first thing that I would look at, before I even analyzed all of these chords, is look for chromaticism. Okay, we see chromaticism here, and here, here, then nothing until we go here. Now the instructions tell us that we modulate from the key of B flat to F. So what I would ask myself is, well, what's the difference between B flat and F? And of course, in the key of F, we only have one flat versus B flat where we have two. But even more important than that is that the flat that we're missing is E flat, which is leading tone, which will become leading tone to F. So that E flat will become E natural, which is leading tone to F. So if I'm looking for where it actually modulates, these F sharps here don't help me, because that's not indicating that I'm going to be going to the key of F. This B natural does not help me. The A flat does not help me to go to the key of F. The only note that helps me find out where we go to the key of F is here, the E's. Okay? So using our method, I know we start in B flat. I know we end in F. We were told that. We look for the E natural, say, okay, this is the first instance of E natural in the piece, therefore, this is the chromaticism we're initially looking for. If we look at the chord, we have a C and an E natural. That should be pretty clear. Now, C and E in the key of F would indicate 5, which makes sense. Now, if you look at the notes around it, we have a B flat and an F, and then we have a B flat and a D over here. This can be a little bit confusing, but if you think about it, if this is the chromatic chord, C and E, we're just missing the 5th, which is G. The B flat and the F are actually functioning in the previous key of B flat as 1. That's how we hear that. Okay? So, if this is the first instance of modulatory chromaticism, then perhaps this would be the pivot chord. Now let's go back up here and look at these chords. Again, we're in B flat. We have an F sharp, a D, and an A. which is simply repeated here, up an octave in this case. D, F sharp, and A. So if you notice, the very first thing that I do is I put it in root position, because you really can't understand what the chord is unless you know what the root is. So I know my key, which is B flat. I look at the quality of the chord, D, F sharp, A, a major chord that is not diatonic, so it's chromatic. So I have a major chord that is chromatic to the key. Because I know I'm going to the key of F and not any other key, D, F sharp, A does not lead me to any kind of F chord, so it would not be a modulatory technique. Since it's a major chord that is chromatic to the key, my first assumption would be that D, F sharp, A is going to be 5 of something. So I say this root, which is D, is 5 of what note? G. G is what in the key of B flat, which is 6. So I would expect this D, F sharp, A to resolve to some kind of G, which it does. G, B flat, D, which is 6 in the key of B flat. We could look at this chord similarly. We have a B, D, F natural, A flat. I first find the quality of that chord. B to D is a minor third, D to F is a minor third, F to A flat is a minor third. So we have a fully diminished 7th chord that is chromatic to the key. That raises some flags for me. Hope that helps you. Let's skip on down to the Mozart. Let's see, which one is that? This is just 4. So let's listen to it first.
Exercise 18-2, A4.
Okay, so let's start with the instructions. It says, label the chords with Roman numerals. How do the pickup notes at the beginning of the excerpt help smooth the return to the first key when the repeat is taken? Okay, so before I label any chords, I'm going to try to establish what key I'm in. So I've got 4 flats, and I begin on A flat, right? A flat and a C. So it may be your tendency to say, well, it's probably in the key of A flat, but I think you will agree that once we get to the downbeat of this first full measure, we have an F, an A flat, and a C, and that confirms the key for us. So it's not A flat major, it's actually F minor. Okay? So then I look for chromaticism. So technically I see some chromaticism here and here with these E naturals. Now again, before I go labeling everything as a secondary dominant or whatever, I need to figure out what is this E natural doing? How is it functioning in the key of F minor? Because E natural is leading tone to F minor, and this has to be artificially created. In other words, it would normally be E flat, but because it's leading tone, it's raised. This is not technically a chromatic chord, so we're going to leave it alone. If you look at the phrase, we have a bar here, 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 this bar 3, and bar 4. Then we have bar 1, 2, 3, 4. In most of the common practice era music, the phrases are going to be symmetrical, meaning that we'll have the same number in each phrase. So if I had to just take a guess, I would say that the first phrase is 4 bars, and the second phrase is 4 bars. Okay? Another indication would be this chord, which I'm not going to tell you, leading to this chord, which seems cadential to me. Now, we've been in the key of F minor. Now we need to determine what the second key could be. Now, because this piece is by Mozart, we know that he's probably going to be modulating to a closely related key. I talked about this last night in the video that I shared with you. So if we're in the key of F minor, what keys could we possibly modulate to? There only are 5 that we could possibly go to. So I would try to figure out what those are. Then I would say, well, okay, it's interesting because I don't see accidentals. In other words, technically, we could go to the key of E flat major. Okay, we're in F minor, we could go to E flat major. But in order for us to go to E flat major, we'd have to drop this D flat. Well, here we have a D, and it's still flat. So it couldn't be E flat major. So if you're not exactly sure where you modulate to, use your powers of deduction. Another way would be, okay, I'm going to look at the very last chord. What is this chord? Well, there's a good chance that that's where we're modulating. So it also asks you, how do the pickup notes at the beginning of the excerpt help smooth the return to the first key? So here's our first key. Somewhere over here is our second key. And how do these notes smooth the return to that first key? Well, if you think about it, these two keys have something in common. So perhaps these pickup notes relate to that in some way. All right, well, I hope this screen capture was helpful to you. And again, please let me know if it was, and I'll do more of them. Thanks a lot.